Hey, my spookies. Before we start tonight's show, I just want to say thank you so much for all the help you've all given me in paying for my dog Chicano's chemotherapy treatments. We've raised almost half of the amount necessary to pay for his treatment, and it does appear like he's in remission. So we've raised over $4,000, and anything would help. So if you want to help us out, just go to WeeklySpooky.com and click on Help My Dog. But now, my friends, it's time for a fresh tale that is definitely true. If you live in the United States of America, you've always had a sense of isolation and safety from even the idea of war. But that sense was shattered following Pearl Harbour, and that wasn't the only example. But this example we're talking about tonight, I never heard about in school.
What you are about to hear is believed to be real, based on witness accounts, testimonies, and public record. This is terrifying and true.
The concept of war really is, pardon the pun, foreign to most Americans like myself. Since the Civil War, there has been no battle on American soil. However, there have been attacks, and the most famous attack on American soil from a sovereign nation is Pearl Harbor. But I didn't even know about this until we prepared this episode. There were other attacks and other near misses in World War II, and this one is the most mysterious of them all. What's become coined as the Battle of Los Angeles. We'll talk all about it after these quick words from our sponsor. So get comfortable, because this one is truly scary. The Battle of Los Angeles, also known as the Great Los Angeles Air Raid, occurred in 1942 after an infamous false alarm caused the American military to unleash anti-aircraft fire in the skies over Los Angeles.
And now for news of our own West Coast, we take you to Los Angeles and the report of Byron Palmer.
Anti-aircraft guns went into action against unidentified aircraft in the Los Angeles area shortly after 3 a.m. Pacific Wartime this morning. The anti-aircraft guns began barking during a blackout ordered by the 4th Interceptor Command at 2:25 a.m. The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach. Army officials declined to comment on the possibility that the object might have been a blimp. However, it required nearly 30 minutes to travel some 25 miles, far slower than an airplane. Watchers on the rooftop of the Columbia Broadcasting Building in the heart of Hollywood could plainly see the flashes of guns and searchlights sweeping the skies in a wide arc along the coastal area. Concussion of the shells could be felt in downtown Los Angeles, 15 miles away. U.S. Army planes quickly took to the dark sky, but whether they contacted the object has not been announced. Army officials say they will not comment until they receive a full report of the action. Although some watchers say they saw airplanes in the air, semi-official sources say they probably were the U.S. Army's pursuit. Several observers say they saw one or more planes spotlighted by 20 or 30 searchlights. The object moved southward, presumably over Huntington Park at the western edge of Los Angeles, and on southward to about Long Beach on the coast. By 3:30 a.m., observers said the object appeared to be over the south of Long Beach. Searchlights closely followed the object down the coast and kept it centered in their glare. Shells frequently could be seen bursting near the object, but none appeared to hit it. The shooting stopped about 3:30 a.m. The shooting brought warfare to the front door of this city of 1.25 million population for the first time since December 7th. Already it was alert to the presence off the Southern California coast of a Japanese submarine which had pumped 25 shells into an oil field north of Santa Barbara Monday evening. Because of the presence of the submarine, a 3-hour alert was ordered at dusk last night, and civilian authorities stood at their posts while the Army and Navy continued their search for the submersible. The evening alert ended at 10:23 p.m., but another was sounded at 2:22 a.m., and the blackout followed within 3 minutes. It covered Los Angeles County from Santa Monica to Pomona. At 2:27, all Southern California radio stations were ordered off the air except those in San Diego. Approximately 20 minutes after the firing died down, the ship returned and headed westward from Long Beach toward Santa Monica. The guns went into action again, hurling round after round of shells at the object. The second barrage appeared to be closer to downtown Los Angeles, since watchers could hear the concussion of the guns more clearly, and the flash of bursting shells was brighter. Then the ship disappeared for the second time over the ocean.
The Imperial Japanese Navy attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, and the United States entered World War II on December 11, 1941. Locals on the West Coast were both angry and paranoid, fearing the Japanese would attack the United States. Residents in Alaska's capital, Juneau, were told to cover their windows for a nightly blackout due to rumors of Japanese submarines lurking along the southeast Alaskan coast. People would minimize outdoor light or lights that reflected during a blackout during a war to prepare for the impending attack. Blackouts prevented enemy aircraft crews from identifying their targets by sight. More rumors circulated that a Japanese aircraft was cruising off the coast of the San Francisco Bay Area, prompting the city of Oakland to close schools and declare a blackout. Civil defense sirens, which have been used in wars and tornadoes, warn the general public of impending danger. The Oakland Police Department installed sirens on patrol cars, which were heard throughout the city, and radio silence was ordered, which means that all radio stations in the area were asked to stop transmitting for safety reasons. Residents in Seattle, Washington also implemented a blackout of all buildings and vehicles, and owners who left lights on in their buildings would have their businesses destroyed. The U.S. Army dispatched 500 troops to the Walt Disney Studios lot in Burbank, California, to defend the Hollywood facility and nearby factories. While the United States prepares for war, anti-aircraft guns are being installed, bunkers are being built, and air raid precautions are being drilled into place across the country. From December 1941 to February 1942, U.S. merchant ships were attacked by Japanese submarines off the west coast. Those ships included the SS Agwiworld, which escaped, the SS Imedio, which was sunk, the SS Samoa, which escaped, the SS Larry Doheny, which was sunk, the SS Dorothy Phillips, damaged, the SS HM Story, escaped, but sank later, the SS Cynthia Olsen, which was sunk, the SS Camden, which was sunk, the SS Absaroka, damaged, the Coast Trader, which was sank, and the SS Montebello, which was sank due to minor damage. At 7:15 p.m. on February 24, 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt delivered a fireside chat, which was a series of evening radio addresses to people across the country. When the Japanese submarine I-17 surfaced off the coast of Santa Barbara and bombed the Elwood oil fields in Goleta, the damages were minor, approximately $500 in damage, which equates to $9,500 in today's money, and no one was injured. After 4 months, Japanese forces bombed Dutch Harbor in Unalaska, Alaska, and landed troops in the Aleutian Islands. On February 24, 1942, the Office of Naval Intelligence issued a warning that an attack on California's mainland was imminent. The alert was issued at 7:18 p.m. and was lifted at 10:23 p.m. The same activities began the following morning, February 25th. At 2:25 a.m., air raid sirens were heard throughout Los Angeles County. In addition, a total blackout was ordered, and thousands of air raid wardens were stationed. Air raid wardens ensured that everything was blacked out, that the air raid sirens were activated, that people were placed in shelters, that gas masks were issued, that areas around unexploded bombs were evacuated, and that the people were accommodated for. The 37th Coast Artillery Brigade began firing their 50 caliber and 12.8-pound anti-aircraft shells at 3:16 a.m. The shells were fired into the air at the reported aircraft. Over 1,400 of them were fired in total. The artillery remained firing until 4:14 a.m. when the all-clear was sounded and the blackout order was lifted. Buildings and vehicles were damaged by shell fragments, and 5 civilians died as a result of the anti-aircraft fire. 3 died in car accidents, and 2 died from heart attacks caused by the stress. After the air raid, Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox held a press conference and stated that the entire incident was a false alarm, caused by anxiety and, quote, war nerves. The Army issued a statement the next day claiming that the incident was caused by enemy agents using commercial planes in a psychological warfare campaign in order to cause mass panic. Some news organizations suspected a cover-up. Quote, "There is a mysterious reticence about the whole affair, and it appears that some form of censorship is attempting to halt discussion on the matter," wrote a writer for the Long Beach Independent. There were theories that a secret base in northern Mexico existed, as well as Japanese submarines stationed offshore, capable of carrying airplanes. Others speculated that the incident was staged or exaggerated in order to give the coastal defense an excuse to move further inland. After the war, the Japanese government claimed that they flew no planes over Los Angeles during the war. But submarines were indeed used in Seattle. A review of the evidence suggested that the meteorological balloons released over Los Angeles may have set off the alarm. On February 26, 1942, a photograph of searchlights focused on an alien spaceship was published in the Los Angeles Times. But the photograph was heavily edited before publication and was featured in the conspiracy theory about UFOs. According to a writer named Larry Harnish, the retouched photograph and fake newspaper headlines were featured in the 2011 movie Battle Los Angeles. He said, quote, "If the publicity campaign wanted to establish UFO research as nothing but lies and fakery, it could have done a better job." The incident occurred in the heart of the film industry, according to the journalist. The New York Times reported in March of 1942 that Hollywood, the, quote, "world's preeminent fabricator of make-believe," appeared to have hosted a battle that was, quote, "just another illusion." In the end, no one knows what triggered the shootout over Los Angeles. When the Japanese military claimed that they had never flown a plane over the city, it sparked a slew of conspiracy theories involving the government, experimental aircraft, and of course, extraterrestrials. To this day, there is no shortage of theories about what happened on that day in Los Angeles. I really had never heard a peep about any of the incidents described in today's show, and I have a good suspicion many of you have not as well. So I hope it brought you a little more knowledge of the world, albeit in a unpleasantly scary way. And thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Monday for another episode of Terrifying and True. I've really enjoyed bringing you true horror stories, true mysteries of history every week. And I hope you've enjoyed it too. And if you love what we're doing here and you have a story you want us to talk about, we're wide open to any suggestions. Just email us at weeklyspooky@gmail.com. And remember, the way to keep this program going and going and going is to listen, to subscribe, and to leave a 5-star rating on your favorite podcasting app. It costs you nothing, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartMedia, or Stitcher. But that review encourages others to give us a listen. And I really, sincerely can't overstate how helpful it is. And if you want to go above and beyond, you can go to weeklyspooky.com and subscribe via Patreon. But all I want from you really is to enjoy the program. I thank you so much for allowing me to have this awesome podcast platform and to entertain you multiple times a week. It's something I don't take for granted. But now it's time for a blackout. Terrifying and True is narrated by Enrique Couto. It's executive produced by Rob Fields, produced by Daniel Wilder, with original theme music by Ray Mattis. If you have a story you'd like us to cover on the program, send us an email at weeklyspooky@gmail.com. And if you want to support us in a very direct way, go to weeklyspooky.com and click on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can support us and allow us to keep the spooky rolling and rolling and rolling. And I want to say a big thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay just a little bit more to hear their names on the show. And they are Bobbletopia, Megan Hua, Julia Kirsch, Christopher Sullivan, Brent McCullough, Gino Lyons, Steve King, Karen Weemet, Jack Kerr, and Craig Cohen. Thank you all so very much, and we'll see you next Monday.